What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. So, another great night of boxing. I thoroughly enjoyed the HBO card. You had Brian Jennings and Mike Perez. That fight was a little bit hard to watch in certain spots, a lot of falling in. Mike Perez, it looked like he was kind of fatiguing and he was just kind of pot shotting, falling in, crowding. Brian Jennings having longer arms. He couldn't really work, and he didn't really have the experience to know what to do with. A lot of these Cuban fighters are very tricky. You know what I'm saying? You can tell they're very seasoned and they've had tons of fights because they kind of know what to do, especially to stay out of trouble. And that was apparent. It was apparent who had more experience. I thought Brian Jennings definitely won the fight. I thought Perez started off sharp and he kind of just fizzled out, and he looked kind of complacent as the fight picked up. And one thing I liked, like I said, it was a little bit rough to watch in spots. One thing I like about Brian Jennings is I feel like you could work with him. He does some things that he needs to work on. I think him being the taller fighter, he should have used a jab or established a jab to begin with against the shorter fighter and control the distance better. He allowed Mike Perez to fall in and crowd him, especially when he would land some shots. So again, it's kind of what you deal with when you deal with certain styles. Cuban style being one of them. They're very smart. They know what to do. They know when they're hurt or when they're in trouble, or they want to stop you from scoring. Like if you're kind of changing the ebb and flow of the round, they kind of know what to do to neutralize that, nullify it, so they don't get blown out in a round or whatever the situation is. So again, it was a decent fight. Brian Jennings, he's a canvas you could work with. I think he has a better chin than Seth Mitchell. So I liked it. I like his competitive streak. He would listen to his corner, and he kind of tried to implement the things they were telling him. Again, he has some work, but I'll take that all day over somebody who mentally checks out, like a Zab Judah or whatever, in their biggest fight. So I like that, and I appreciate him and Mike Perez for taking on a tough test. And I didn't really like Mike Perez's corner. I thought they were a little bit too calm. The fight was getting close. Brian Jennings was coming on in the second half of the fight, and they were just a little too lackadaisical for my liking. I like the Barry Hunters of the world. I've seen him slap Lamont Peterson before. Just guys that are going to inspire their corner. And in a close fight like this, I think there was a point where they should have stepped on the gas with their fighter, with Mike Perez, and let him know, hey, you're starting to fall behind. You're getting a little bit complacent. And they should have really fired their man up, and they didn't. He was just like, move your head and shoot your shot first. Like, that's it. Like, come on, you gotta really motivate these guys sometimes. Main event. Both of my predictions were right, so good thing for that. Both my predictions are right. It was a split decision in the Mike Perez. I said Brian Jennings would win a decision. I didn't see him stopping Mike Perez, so I was right in that front, and I picked the right man. As far as Gennady Golovkin, I did say I thought it was going to end late. I thought Daniel Geale would be able to last a little bit longer, but I told you it would be a convincing win from Triple G. A lot of you guys said, no, Ego, Daniel Geale's really going to test Triple G and drag him into deep waters and this and that. And I'm like, he doesn't have the firepower. I told you, just listen to my prediction videos. He does not have the firepower. I mean, I appreciate Daniel Geale for, one, taking the challenge, two, just for, just having the balls to step in with a known puncher and taking the fight. But he does not have the firepower to keep someone like Triple G honest. I told you guys that. And I know he was tough, and I know he's herky-jerky, but like I said, it's a big stretch when you're going from having a close competitive fight with Darren Barker or Adama versus Triple G. Triple G, one thing I loved in this fight with him today, he's very composed. So it just lets you know the level of experience that he has. He's very composed, and he places his shots. There was a couple rounds, or a couple spots, I guess you could say, in the rounds where Triple G, he looked sloppy, and that's where he wasn't landing his shots. And I attribute that a lot to that frenetic, herky-jerky like style. Like Daniel Geale fights tough. He fights like he drank 6 Red Bulls and then just came out. He's just like he has ADD, like ha ha ha. You know what I mean? And real moving a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like he's real hyper, and that's just his style. So I wouldn't expect Triple G to just first round come out and blast him and knock him out. You have to get acclimated. But I think Triple G stayed very composed. He was taking some shots. He took some shots from Daniel Geale. But again, it's Triple G's the type of fighter. He said even in his post-fight, he likes to fight like the Mexican style fighters, that aggressive, come forward style. And Triple G is willing to take your best shot, especially when you don't have that much power or a respectable power because it looks like Triple G has a chin. He's willing to take that shot because he knows he's confident in his own power. And I told you this, and some of you guys didn't believe me. You said, oh, Triple G's a hype job, and Daniel Geale was going to test him, whoop-de-whoop. And that wasn't the case. He got the win. He stopped him in 3 rounds, just like Macklin. And it lets you know this dude's power is obviously the real deal. They say he hits like a light heavyweight. I mean, the guy can crack. It's apparent. You can see the look of discern on the fighter's face. Like I still remember Curtis Stevens, and that's my dude. I interviewed him before. His facial expression says it all. This dude can crack. Like he looked like whoo, like he was on a roller coaster or some shit. And Daniel Geale, he just looked when he got knocked down the second time or the final time, he looked very disenchanted and just like, damn, like, you know what I mean? Like he just looked disappointed. And I knew even if the ref didn't wave the fight off, it was only a matter of time. He just didn't have it. His equilibrium was fucked up. And one thing I really liked about Triple G, he got punched with a good shot in an exchange and had the wherewithal to throw a counter punch in the middle of rocking his head back. So again, this shows you how confident Triple G is in his power and it shows you how quick he can process because you're getting punched and your head's getting rocked back and Triple G just let his hand go and threw the punch that would ultimately stop Daniel Geale. So it was a good performance by Triple G. He did get hit a little bit, but I attribute that more to Daniel Geale's style. He didn't stay still. He had that hyper type of style. So you know what I mean? You got to get used to that. I like the post-fight interview. Yeah, no, Max. Yeah, right. And he said he wants to fight Miguel Cotto. I love the call out. And Max Kellerman and HBO, they, you know what I mean, they really push an agenda and they kind of force that out of him. But I appreciate Triple G for the things he said. He's like, if you want entertainment, call me. Like, you know what I mean? He wants to fight. The man wants to fight. So I say make some of the big fights at middleweight. He has no desire to move up right now, and that's his choice. So I don't think he's going to really get tested at middleweight until I think he needs to move up to really get tested, where some of those guys might be able to crack harder than some of the middleweights or be able to take his power better. That's just my personal opinion. I think he'll swallow Cotto, and I'm a huge Cotto fan, but I'm just being real. I think the size differential, the precision punching, the body shots, I see him stopping Cotto, probably by TKO or whatever. I don't think Cotto, and I know Cotto's a hell of a boxer, and I would pay top dollar to watch the fight. I just don't see Cotto winning. I think Triple G is just a monster. And like I said, I liked how composed he was in the fight. Very composed, and he was getting nailed with some shots. It's just Daniel Geale didn't have enough snap on the punches to really deter Triple G from coming forward. And the way he was moving his feet and cutting off the ring, I mean, you got to give him, he's actually one of the best active fighters that stalks the right way. Like Canelo, I think Canelo would have blew Laura out of the water if he had that ability like Triple G. If he cut off the ring like Triple G, then, you know what I'm saying, it would have been a much easier fight for fans to decide. But Canelo is more of a boxer puncher. You know what I mean? He doesn't cut off the ring like Triple G. That's a perfect example of cutting off the ring. Daniel Geale is a hard person to quote unquote trap, and Triple G did it pretty well. Like I seen Daniel Geale attempting to make his escape, like he had an escape route, and Triple G would just take his step and cut him off, and you have no escape now. What do? And then he would like pan to the left. Then Triple G would be right there. So it's like you move with the opponent. And another thing, Triple G, this is not the Triple G show. I'm just telling you what he did right. His jab is one of the best jabs because he carries that power, and it's a stiff jab. So it's almost like some people jab just to toy with you. There's rangefinder jabs. There's different variations of a jab. Some to measure distance. His jab is that jab can fuck you up. I don't know if you guys remember Brandon Rios versus Mike Alvarado Part 2, but Brandon Rios had a pop-up kind of jab, and it fucked Mike Alvarado's equilibrium up. And I think Triple G, he has his feet planted well, and his jab has the ability to fuck you up. So it's a hell of a punch to add to his arsenal, because it's not just a little bullshit jab to measure distance or like a rangefinder, like he's just pity-patting. Like that jab itself can set up a lot for Triple G. So love the call out. It was a good performance, and a lot of people don't take this in consideration. This is probably one of the longer layoffs Triple G's had in recent memory due to the death of his father. And I think he looked good in that fight. He didn't really show any ring rust. He did have a little bit of complications dealing with the movement of Daniel Geale, but it was only a matter of time. He was doing what was right. He had an early knockdown. He was trapping him on the ropes and letting his hands go. And that's what I really appreciate, because if that's your fighting style, then be the best at it. And he's really good at that type of style. You know what I mean? Some people are good lateral movers. Some people are good with like slick style. He's really good at the aggressive stalk you. And I think a lot of it stems from his confidence. So to really beat Triple G, I think it's probably going to be a higher division, and it's going to you're going to have to do some things right in there. You're going to have to be a good boxer. You're going to have to invest to the body. You're going to have to discourage him. So hopefully have some power or something of your own to really discourage him. You're going to have to establish that jab. You don't want to go toe to toe. And as far as Daniel Geale, I respect him. He's tough, and I respect him for not fighting like a bitch. He didn't fight like a bitch. He stayed in pocket and then moved, and he fought the best type of fight that he could. It just wasn't enough. And I told you he's not good enough to beat Triple G, and I was right. He fought a better game plan than someone like Ishida. Ishida had no punching power at 54, and he was standing in front of Triple G at 160. That's like stupid. You're asking to get knocked out. And Ishida was taller than Triple G. So Ishida should have used that height. He just gave up his complete height. No punching power at 54, and you moved up in weight to fight Triple G, a massive puncher, and you fought some bullshit fight, and that's why he got stretched in the way he did. So, hell of a performance by Triple G. Let me know what you guys want to see next. I'm good with anything like Canelo, Cotto fight, Quillen fight. Triple G needs to fight some of the upper echelon guys, people we consider upper echelon, and I give Cotto all the props in the world if he A, beats Triple G, or B, even takes the fight at middleweight, because it's looking like Triple G is a motherfucking monster. Like the video. Let me know what you guys think of the fight or the card. Make sure you like the video. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.